Hi guys, and welcome back to our channel. Today we are doing the very long-awaited, bless you, labor and delivery story of this little girl right here. Please don't mind like the background of this. We are moving, so this is all like boxes and like stuff is in bags to get donated, so I don't have like a clean corner of my house to film this in, so this was the only option. And if you can hear the movie in the background, it's because Quentin and Aspen are watching The Grinch right now, so you might hear that in the background, and I'm sorry if you do. Also, we have been gone from filming since before Della was born, so we basically just took a little hiatus, and by little I mean a lot. Okay, I think I turned it down a little bit, but who knows at this point. So anyways, this is the baby that we had. This is Della. She is in boy pajamas right now because it's the only thing that's clean, so we're not judging it. She was born on September 29th, so a little while ago. She's almost 4 months old. She is a little bit tired right now. She probably will go to sleep while we're filming this. But I don't know if you can tell, she does have like red haired eyebrows and red hair. It looks a little bit dark, but it is pretty red. Huh. Huh. She is so far the like sweetest, most gentle baby that we've had, so that is really nice. Aside from the fact that the kids just love her so much that they fight over her. So what are you doing? So let's move forward with her labor and delivery story. So I was 39 weeks, about to be 40 weeks, I'm pretty sure. It was like a couple days before I turned 40 weeks. I went in for my doctor's appointment to get my 4th membrane sweep. I'm pretty sure it was either my 3rd or 4th. And their plan was at that appointment, if I was like stretched far enough to get my water broken and we could get like labor moving. Because I was going for a VBAC, I was not allowed to have like an induction. Technically I was allowed to get my water broken as long as I was far enough along, if I was having contractions, that type of thing. So it was reliant on a lot of things planning out correctly. So we drove down to the office that was next to the hospital. We went in. My midwife and my doctor were doing a C-section, so they were taking a little bit of time, which was fine by me because I was just basically waiting there to go over to the hospital and give birth. So we already had everything in the car, and my mom was already watching the kids. So we already had everything in the car. So we waited. My midwife actually came over. I was supposed to meet with my doctor that day, but my midwife came over because they both knew my case so well, and you don't know what doctor or midwife you're gonna get until you're in labor. So thankfully they were both on call this weekend, the weekend that I went into labor, which made me very happy because I was so scared to give birth with somebody other than one of them too. So my midwife came over. Well, before she got over there, I had my blood pressure taken, and my blood pressure was extremely elevated, and I have low blood pressure, so it was, I don't know, it was like, I think it was 140 something over, I don't know, but very high. And I had been feeling like sick a couple days prior to this, so it was concerning. So they took it again. I don't know, maybe like 15 minutes later. I'm not sure how long after. It went down a little bit, but not enough. So my midwife came over and was like, this isn't good. You're going over there whether you like it or not. Okay, just give it to me. Sit down and color, please. So she did another membrane sweep to try to kind of like get things moving a little bit. I was 3 centimeters, I'm pretty sure. So she swept my membranes one more time before I went over there, and she was like, yeah, just like head over there because your blood pressure's high. So So we walked over from the doctor's office, which literally is on the same campus. So our car was kind of like parked in front of both. So we just didn't really grab anything from the car, which is why we didn't film any of Della's birth, because I didn't have my camera until after she was born, because everything kind of happened very quickly. So we made it over to the hospital. They brought us right up to labor and delivery. They checked us in, gave us a room, and this was around noon, I want to say. So because I hadn't eaten all day, my doctor let me have like a tray of food, so I ate. And then he was like, okay, we'll wait until I think like 5, so like after office hours, to break my water, so that I had like time to digest the food, I guess. So I think I had like chicken tenders or something like that. It was great. I ate like a little bit of it, and then I gave the rest to Damien because I just wasn't like super duper hungry, and I was contracting because I had the membrane sweep. So I just ate that, and then we walked around for majority of the rest of the time because I didn't have to be on the monitors until my water broke. So we walked around the unit a lot, talked to probably all of the nurses. We didn't know if Della was going to be a boy or a girl because we had waited until birth to find out. I was dead set that she was a boy, and Damien never really told me what his official guess was, so I'm not really sure what his official guess was. But so our nurses were kind of like, oh, you know, like, that's so cool, what do you think it is? They were putting their guesses in, and so that was really nice. I started contracting very regularly before I even got my water broke, so that was like good. My plan was to go 100% natural, kind of like in a way, because I mean I was kind of getting induced in a way, but natural as in like no epidural or anything like that, because I had such a hard time with Aspen, and I got in a really dangerous position from having an epidural with her. So I was like, we're just not going to do that. So around 5 o'clock, my doctor came in and he was like, okay, like, you ready to break your water? And I was like, I guess let's do this. And I hate the feeling of getting my water broken, because if you've never had it done, it's like a crochet hook with like a sharp end, and it's really long, and it just feels really uncomfortable when it's like inside of you. It's not fun. So that was like uncomfortable and gross, and I felt like all of it because I didn't obviously have an epidural. What happened to your eyebrow? Did you make your eyebrow red? Yeah. What? What are you doing? So I had my water broke, and then they were like, okay, you have to be like on the monitors, you kind of have to like stay close. So I had to get up to go to the bathroom to go pee, and Damien was my trusty advisor of every single time I would get up off the bed, I would just gush a bunch of water out. So I had to like walk with like puppy pads underneath me and like walk to the bathroom and then like pee, and then like on the way back I would still be like leaking fluid. So it was a hot mess. There was a lot of puppy pads and bed changing and all that sorts of stuff. What are you doing? So I was contracting and everything started to pick up very quickly. I would say I was probably contracting from like 5 to maybe like 6, 7 o'clock, maybe 8, like around that time. I'm not 100% sure on like the time stamp of it, but I was contracting so close together, and it wasn't giving my body a break or Della's, and I was doing 100% natural. I did not scream literally once. I was pretty dang quiet, like no one could hear me outside of my room. So I was pretty proud about that, because there was a bunch of like moms on the unit that had had their babies and they had had complications, so I didn't really want to bother them with my screaming. So I was pretty uncomfortable, but I was managing it. relatively well. My doctor came in because he was watching baby's heart rate and also watching the contractions, and you want to eat. He did not. Sorry, we needed a snack break. So anyways, my doctor came in, didn't like where her heart rate was at, and didn't like that my contractions literally were not stopping. Like, they would come and then they'd go down and then go right back up. So I was getting no break. He checked to see where I was dilated. I don't remember where I was at. I was not far dilated at all, I don't believe. So he was like, I really recommend you get an epidural. He was like, we have every single med here in case what happened last time happens. He was like, you have to get a bolus of fluids. Like, he was like, we're not like messing around with it. He was like, but your body and her body needs a break. And I was like, okay. So got the epidural. It worked for maybe 20 minutes, and I was like, oh, okay, I'm gonna take a nap. And Damien was like, okay, I'm gonna take a nap. So he fell asleep. Then I would say 20 minutes later, the nurses came in, and I was like, hi, how you doing? Why are you in here? And they were like, baby's not responding well. And I was like, great, that's fantastic. The baby did not like the positions, and the epidural had ended up wearing off by then. So they were kind of trying to put me in different positions. Every single position the baby was not liking. So I just basically asked them, I was like, can you just turn the epidural off, because it ain't doing nothing. I was moving completely freely. Had no like lag in my movement. I could lift my legs up, like it was not working. So I'm pretty sure they turned it off. Not really sure, because it wasn't working anyways, so I couldn't feel it. So they tried moving me a bunch of different positions. The positions didn't work to bring her heart rate back up to where they wanted it every contraction. So my doctor came in and he was like, these are our options. And I was like, please don't say a C-section. And he was like, I am trying to avoid a C-section so much for you. He was like, but if these things don't work, we have to do one. And I was like, okay, that is fine, as long as we're trying everything and the baby is safe. And he was like, I'm gonna try this, and if it doesn't work, we have to do C-section. And I was like, okay. So I've never seen this before, never heard of anybody having this, but they basically take this like catheter type thing. It's very long, it's like flexible, but it's also like hardish, and they put it back through your cervix, up on top of the baby is where they try to get it. So they try to get it to the top of your stomach, and then they put, like, they fill your uterus back up with like fluid. That sounds so bad, and I have no idea what it's called, but it's like a mass, like quick, like fill of fluid, and he was hoping that it would like reposition the baby or reposition the umbilical cord so that baby wasn't struggling anymore. So he was like, you have like 20 minutes, and if it doesn't work, then C-section time. I was like, okay. So he went back to his on-call room. I was sitting there going through contractions and just waiting for like the thing to be done. So they like timed it. There was like 10 people in the room, and Damien was still asleep, by the way. He's a very sound sleeper, and he was out cold the whole entire time and had no idea any of this happened. So they timed it, got back to where it was supposed to be, but I was getting increasingly more uncomfortable because I was dilating so quickly after that. So I was just trying different positions to try and get comfortable because my epidural was either not on anymore or it wasn't working. I don't fully know. And so I had the greatest labor and delivery nurse, and she noticed that Damien was sleeping, and I was like, he's been working like really long hours. I was like, it's not like him purposely trying to not be awake right now. I was like, he can just fall asleep literally anywhere. And she's like, that's fine. Were maneuvering me in different positions. My most comfortable position was like kind of laying over the bed, but there was like this inflatable thing that I was like leaning on, and I was like on my knees put on this thing. It was really weird, but it was the only thing that like kind of alleviated my pain a little bit. And I was just kind of sitting there like humming through it, just kind of getting like in my head and staying in there instead of letting the pain get out of control and then not being able to handle it. So I just tried my best to stay focused on that it would be over in a little bit, and the pain can only get so bad and then it's gonna go down. So that worked a lot. My nurse did like counter pressure on my back too, which helped enormously. And she was like, afterwards, she was like, I'm so sorry if you have bruises on like your back from me like pushing. And I was like, I don't care. I was like, that helped so much. I was like, I don't care if I'm black and blue on my back, like you did what I asked, it's fine. And so things progressed very quickly. And I was like, she was like, just let me know like if you feel like you need to push or you need to poop. And I was like, okay. And I never understood that you could like feel that you needed to push until delivering Della, because all of a sudden it was like a switch just flipped and I was like, I need to push right now. And she was like, okay. She was like, can you flip over and can I check you to like see if you're dilated? And I was like, yes. So I flip over and she was like, yep, you're ready, you're fully dilated, like let's get this going. And so my doctor came in and he checked me and I was fully dilated, fully faced, like the baby was coming down. And so he was like, okay, like we're ready to do this, let's go. The nurses ended up waking up Damien because he was still asleep even with all these people in the room and all the noise. So he woke up and everybody was like, it's time for her to push. And he was like, oh. So he woke up, got next to me. So I think I pushed for maybe 5 minutes, and it was like the best feeling ever because I pushed and I was in pain until her head started crowning, and then I was like, okay, I need a break for a second, and there was no pain at all. And then I pushed her head out, which I thought was gonna be so much more worse than it was. And I pushed her head out and then I was in absolutely no pain at all. So while I was pushing her head out, my doctor was like telling me to stop pushing and everyone was telling me to stop pushing, and I was like, I can't, because when you have that like feeling to push, like it's very hard to stop yourself from pushing. But her umbilical cord was wrapped around her neck, so he had to like get it off, and that's why her heart rate was dropping when I was having contractions, because it kept like tightening around her neck. So he got it off and then I pushed the rest of her out, and I was like, okay, like I just delivered a baby naturally, like okay, we did this. And then I was like, oh, is it a boy or a girl? And so he picked her up and turned her, and I was like, oh my god, I did not think that she was gonna be a girl at all. And I was like, oh my god. Damien was so excited because he liked our girl name 10 times better than he liked our boy name. So they put her on me, and then she was immediately trying to start to eat, and I was like, you gotta hold on because I have to deliver my placenta. And I still had to get sewed up because I had a 2-degree tear this time. Then eventually they like took her off me so they can weigh her. They like asked me, they were like, is it okay if we weigh her? And I was like, yeah, that's fine. So they took her, they weighed her, and she was 715. So they qualify that as 8 pounds there because they're like, I don't know. Anyways, so she was technically 8 pounds on her birth certificate. I do not remember her length, and she was born at like 1240 something, because I don't remember that either. That's terrible, but I feel like when you get to your 3rd kid and it just kind of all goes away after a couple months and you don't remember anything. So after that we stayed in the hospital for I think like 24 hours, and that was it. And then we were allowed to go home. The kids actually got to come see her in the hospital, so that was really nice and different because we didn't get to do that when Aspen was born because of like the COVID restrictions. But yeah, she's happy, healthy, and the sweetest little thing ever. She just didn't want to come out originally. But yeah, so that is Della's labor and delivery story. Yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed, and there's plenty more videos to come, so stick around. We are moving, so I'll touch base on that in a different video, but a lot of content to come. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and we'll see you in our next video.